once upon a time in New Jersey, Irvington, New Jersey, in 1947, a little girl was born, a fairy princess ballerina. That's what she thought she was, anyhow. And I came from a very musical family. I played violin, I played piano, and music lessons. And when I was 3, all the ballet lessons started. And I really thought my career was to be a ballerina. I kind of still do and wish I was a ballerina, but I'm not. My story goes on to all of a sudden when I was 14, 15 years old, oh my God, the 4-letter word. What does everybody think that was when you're 14, 15 years old? Is the big boys. All of a sudden I became like boy crazy, party, forget the ballerina, forget the music lessons, forget singing, forget all of that. It was all about dating and partying. In 1969, I actually went to Woodstock, and I had so much fun. You know, it was all those drugs. I won't say the rest of it, but I mean, we had a ball. Later on in 1969, I actually found a boy that I married. I was 20 years old, and by the time I was 28 years old, I had 3 sons. And we did a lot of family businesses and other things. I raised my children, but somewhere around 1984, I said, oh my God, you know, it was fun for 17 years, but I need to get out of this marriage, and I need to move on, and I need to find a career, and I need to support my children. And that's when my story really starts, because I'm really talking about the rise of the newspaper industry and then the demise of the newspaper industry. I've been in the industry for over 33 years, and as Sharon said, now I'm a publisher, but I got my first job in '84. And I worked for a weekly newspaper called Greater Media in Freehold, New Jersey. And I was an automotive and real estate sales rep. And, you know, back in the day, what we did is I walked around the auto lots and with a pad and paper, and I copied down text and copy, and we did clip art. And when I got back to the office, we had these big graphic sheets, and I had to key in A, B, C, and hand it to an art person. It was a whole different industry then, and I did really well. But I said in my career, I need to get to the next step. I was very ambitious, and I loved the industry, and I thought it was great. And so I applied for my first job for the daily newspaper in New Jersey, and it was the Asbury Park Press. And they hired me as a major account executive, and oh my God, that whole industry was booming then. Circulation was growing. Advertisers were actually calling in, and everybody wanted to spend money, and everybody wanted to be in the paper. And it was like supply and demand, because we didn't have enough space, and I had to like turn revenue away. Those were the really good days. Newspapers were making 40-50% profits on you know, in their newspapers, and it was really fun. I entertained. I had expense accounts. It was the days when you went out and you entertained your customers in the bars, actually, partying. It was like really, really fun. 5 o'clock to the bar, you know, happy hours, take your customers out, and it was all expenses. I did that for 10 years. Part of that time, they promoted me into management. I was really wonderful, you know, really mentoring and helping salespeople. And I worked at their bureau offices in New Jersey. Got to be very, very good friends with Bruce Springsteen, my idol. Yay, Bruce! Stone Pony, and went to tons of concerts, you know, lived the New York, New Jersey days of concerts and fun. And somewhere along 1997, I got recruited, because you kind of got a name in the industry, you attended conferences, and I was recruited to work in Omaha, Nebraska. As an advertising director for their paper. And you could say, what is a nice little Jewish New Jersey girl doing going from New Jersey, New York, into Omaha, Nebraska? It was a shock. Everything was different in Nebraska. A lot of flat, and actually I loved horses, and I did raise quarter horses out there, but it was just different. But I worked for a family-owned newspaper out there, and I'm sorry, my first paper was family-owned. The Omaha World-Herald was employee-owned, and it was only one of two in the country that was employee-owned. And it was booming. We actually had at this paper a 97% penetration on Sundays. So as you can tell, I traveled again, expense accounts, I went to Hollywood, I signed up all the studios, I got us an upgrade, I built business departments. It was really fun days. Advertising was coming in, but the newspapers started to realize that, maybe we have to do more things, that, this is not always going to last forever. And so we started kind of restructuring, and right in the middle of that in 2000, I got recruited again, still the good days, to the Dallas Morning News. And the Dallas Morning News was a top 10 newspaper, and we had a circulation of almost 900,000 when I went there in 2000. And it was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. I had a staff of 125 people. I had a $125 million budget. And these were the real glory days, because we traveled, and I had limos, and I had first-class airfares, and the newspaper industry was doing really well. They did come to realize that the internet boom was starting, and we had to get on board, and I created an internet department, and we started integrating all the sales and selling packages, and it was really fun. In 2003, I left there and I went to Salt Lake City. That was a mistake. You make one mistake in your career, and everybody always asks you when you interview, okay, what's the one mistake you made? Well, that was probably it. I didn't much like Salt Lake, but back in those days, they offered you lots of money. And so you went, and I had a big staff, and I learned lots of new things, but I lasted there a year. And that was a media news newspaper. And then I ended up in Cincinnati at the Cincinnati Enquirer, which is a Gannett newspaper. And back then, the newspaper revenues were not so large, and they started to decline a little bit. But Gannett was a very smart company. And so we kind of put together a restructure plan, and we restructured staff, we restructured everything, and we started growing that revenue. Our motto was reach more customers more frequently. And I think that's kind of stuck in the industry for a long time, because that's what we need to do, and we have to find other strategies and ways to do that. At the Cincinnati Enquirer, I met Scott McKibben, who eventually was the publisher out here at the Colorado Springs Gazette. And it's really just funny, because Scott worked for Western Color Print, and which we actually bought our color comics from him. And so I arranged this whole big thing with Gannett, and we're sitting around the executive board table, and Scott was there because he wanted all of our business. And there was someone that he brought with him, and I didn't really pay much attention to who that person was. And later on I said, Scott, who was that? And he said, don't you know who that is? And I said, who? And he goes, that was Phil Anschutz. And I go, really? Oh my God. I sat around this whole boardroom table and negotiated a deal with Phil Anschutz, which is really cool. And Scott eventually recruited me to come to Colorado Springs and come to the Gazette. And I was as the senior VP of advertising. I had all my family in Cincinnati, out the Cincinnati area, in northern Kentucky, and I just up and left because, I don't know, it was another adventure in life. And I think that's what life is all about, is adventures and looking forward and doing that. And so I came to Colorado Springs. He offered me a golf membership at the Broadmoor, and he paid me a lot of money. I came out here. But you know what? I believe, even though I worked for Freedom for 2 years, and, Freedom eventually went down, but actually 5 days after I came to Colorado Springs, I met my now husband, John Hazelhurst, and we've been married almost 7 years, and yay. And I just tell you one thing, you know what? It was a lot of hard work at the Gazette, because the newspaper industry was going down. I mean, really fast. Circulation declining, revenue declining, a lot of pressure from corporate. I mean, I worked a lot of long hours, try to bringing everything back. But, I met my Prince Charming here, and I was here probably a couple of weeks, and a couple of people from the Gazette, because I really knew no one, came into my office. They closed my door, and they said, "Are you dating John Hazelhurst?" And I go, "Yeah, why?" And they go, "Well, he's the biggest partier in town, and he's out with all the young girls all the time. Do you really want to be with John?" And I said, "That's really all I want to do. I want to party." And so we had fun, and again, eventually we got married. I have 3 sons, and I have myself 12 grandchildren. And John has 3 children, and he has 8 grandchildren. So together we have 6 children, and we have 20 grandchildren, including a great-grandchild. And I always wanted to be publisher. I had other opportunities, but now I am publisher of Colorado Fun and coloradofunguide.com. It's been my vision to create this magazine and website, and just watch for it. It comes out the end of May. And it's free, and it's out all through the Pikes Peak region. And I thank all of you. Thank you.